What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of First Date Unsolved. One thing we have talked about here before is John and Jane Does. We have one episode, episode 20, dedicated strictly to the Does of Delaware, and another homage-style episode that has yet to be recorded that I keep teasing, which is dedicated to missing people from the first date but have been ruled out as those does, if that makes sense. There are a list of several missing people from Delaware, their DNA against the John and Jane Does found in Delaware, and they have been ruled out. I hope that makes sense. I will be covering them very soon, I promise. I have the episode written out already. I just need to sit down and record. That's just the problem I'm running into right now, is getting the time and honestly the motivation to record. I've said this stuff here before, I feel like, but today we are here to talk about identifying one of those does, which is a huge deal in my eyes. On social media, I will share the recreations, the sketches, and it looks like clay, like a clay bust that was made for this Jane Doe. And then you will see the real victim actually in the thumbnail, not footprint, in the thumbnail for this episode. And I guess let me stop rambling. I'll just get into it. For 44 years, the remains of a woman found in Odessa, Delaware went unidentified. Thanks to technology, and thanks to the involvement of an officer from Maryland, the unknown female's remains were proven to belong to Marie C. Petry Heiser. On June 27, 1977, a teenage boy was riding his bicycle on a rural road south of Odessa off Old Union Church Road, which is County Road 456. It was dusk and he was headed home. As he rode by a drainage ditch located near a wooded area, the teen just so happened to look down. There, he spotted something shocking: the decomposing body of a naked woman. The woman, who had no identification, had likely been there for weeks, according to the medical examiner. There was a fracture noted on one of her fingers, which suggested that she had fought back against her attacker. There was also a possibility that she suffered blunt force trauma to her head, leading to her death being ruled a homicide. Police had no leads as to who she was or how her body got in the ditch. Detectives couldn't link her to any missing person reports, and dental records didn't prove helpful either. In the years following, police would continue to conduct an extensive investigation into the woman's murder, heavily relying on fingerprints and dental records, which I just said weren't very helpful, in hopes of identifying the woman, but no leads were ever obtained, and the case did eventually go cold. Okay, I need you guys to bear with me, because these next few paragraphs came from a press release issued by Newcastle County back on March 23rd, 2001. I apologize in advance. I told myself I need to stop apologizing, but I really do apologize in advance if this gets a little boring. It's kind of scientific and wordy, but I thought it was interesting and I wanted to share it with you all. And I guarantee I will fumble over words. I'll cut out as much as I can, but some of it you're just going to have to hear and laugh along with me. So here we go. In 2008, information regarding the discovery of the body and surrounding circumstances were reviewed for entry into the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, or NAMIS. As part of the case entry process, a DNA profile from the remains was extracted by University of North Texas for human identification and was entered into the Combined DNA Index System, which is CODIS. And if you watched CSI back in the day, you know that term. There were no matches found in the nationwide system. In February 2017, Newcastle County Police learned of the Virginia company called Paraben Nanolabs, which, which specializes in DNA phenotyping. Phenotyping is a process of predicting physical traits and ancestry from DNA evidence. Tom Shaw, IAI certified forensic artist and employee of Paraben Nanolabs, completed a sketch of the victim. The lab subsequently provided a snapshot phenotype report to include a computerized composite of the victim, which I will share. Paraben Nanolabs further submitted the genetic information to an ancestry database and provided genetic genealogy analysis, which included a potential family tree for the victim. Newcastle County Police report that the breakthrough in this investigation occurred when Montgomery County, Maryland officer Stephen Smugreski became involved in the case. Members of the cold case squad consulted with Officer Stephen after he conducted a presentation at a law enforcement cold case seminar. In 2019, Officer Stephen, which is what we will be calling him, took over the ancestry researching of the victim's DNA profile. He worked tirelessly on potential family trees in an attempt to develop information on the identity of the remains. Newcastle County Police followed up on these leads and obtained DNA samples from possible relatives. The Delaware Division of Forensic Science DNA Laboratory expeditiously conducted analysis of the possible relative samples and extracted DNA profiles. The profiles were entered into CODIS, and a positive comparison to the 1977 remains was received. Based on that analysis, the identity of Marie Petry Heiser was confirmed by Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Gary Collins of the Delaware Division of Forensic Science. Dr. Collins concurred with the initial medical examiner's ruling that the manner of death was homicide. Thank you for sticking around with me through all of that. It was a struggle. I know big words. I do. I'm not stupid. It's just a struggle saying those, just the sequence. I don't know. It was hard. But we've gone through it. So let's get into the victim now that she's been identified. Marie Petry Heiser is formerly from the 6200 block of Crofton Street in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It was determined that Marie Petry Heiser was 50 years old at the time of her death and not been reported missing to any police agency. Heiser was the wife of William Heiser Sr., who was a member of the Philadelphia Police Department's Highway Patrol from 1950 until the early 1960s. They were known for performing thrill shows in the area stadiums and arenas. As to what that means, I can't explain. There was no elaboration of any kind, but it sounds pretty cool to me. But Heiser Sr. had to leave the police force after being seriously injured while rehearsing for one of those shows. He then worked as a truck driver for an area transportation company, and William Heiser Sr. relocated to the area of South Daytona Beach, Florida in the 1970s, obviously after whatever happened to him and his wife happened, and subsequently died in 2006. If you just heard that sigh, I'm sorry, it was Odin. He's laying right next to me. Marie Petry Heiser was a homemaker and a part-time employee at the former Ashburn County Club in Cheltenham, Pennsylvania in the 1970s. She was a mother of 2 children. She has a daughter who currently resides in California and a son who lives in Florida. The children had been told by their father that their mother had packed her bags and left the residence in Philadelphia, leaving behind no information on where she had gone. Again, information on when this supposedly happened, it's not very clear, but her son, William Heiser Jr., is also a retired police officer for the Volusia County Sheriff's Department in Florida, and him and his sister never had any reason to doubt what their dad was saying. Jr. stated that he appreciated all of the hard work by law enforcement in identifying his mother, and it gave his family some sense of closure regarding her disappearance. Also mentioned in that press release, the Newcastle County Police planned on continuing their investigation into Marie's death. They were specifically interested in anyone who may know the Heiser family, especially from the area of Crofton Street in Philadelphia or the former Ashburn Country Club in Cheltenham. Also, as well as the greater South Daytona Beach area in Florida, because her husband moved there. But as of then, what did I say that was? 2001, March 2001. There's been no updates. Now, if you're like me, anything like me, as soon as I read that Marie was married to a cop, I immediately, like, alarm bells just started going off. And after reading that she was never reported missing and that her husband told their children she just abandoned them, I really started to think the worst. That's just my true crime brain going to work. But hear me out. It is entirely possible that Marie had just had enough of her marriage and left, like, willingly. Maybe she already had a new guy in her life on the side and she wanted to leave, or maybe she just wanted to try out being single, not worrying about being a mom and a wife. Who knows who she encountered after she left? The circumstances are unknown. Who knows? Her son, Junior, who, again, followed in his father's footsteps and joined law enforcement, told New York Times he is certain that his father knew nothing of his mother's killing. Quote, "He would be the last person that would ever hurt anybody," said Junior. He was a saint. He took care of his family, never raised his voice or hands or argued or anything. He just said she packed up her stuff and left. And when asked about his wife's whereabouts by his children or anyone else, Senior would say something along the lines of, I haven't heard, I don't know where she's at, I don't know. And Junior and his sister never questioned further because they hadn't heard anything either. That's their mother, she hadn't reached out to them, so what the hell, right? Authorities did state that Senior's explanation of what happened to Marie was under scrutiny, but they never officially listed him as a person of interest, despite their suspicions. Serial killer Henry Lee Lucas did live in Elkton, Maryland, which is very close to the area in which Marie's remains were found. Investigators also found that writings Lucas made while he was serving time in a Texas prison have many similarities to the crime scene and information that was developed. Lucas claimed to have brought a female from Michigan to Delaware where he murdered her. In fact, in 1983, Lucas confessed to killing 6 women in Delaware, but he did later recant those confessions. We mentioned Henry Lee Lucas in the episode that covers the murder of Linda O'Day because he was considered a person of interest in that case by the FBI. This crazy guy falsely confessed to over 3,000 murders and was only convicted of 3. So take that with a grain of salt. We don't know what he actually did, what he actually didn't, but it was brought up when I did my research, so I thought it was worth mentioning. Anyone who has any information about this incident should please contact Detective Jeffrey Sadek, not Officer Steven, Detective Jeffrey Sadek at 302-395-8110 or via email at jeffrey.sadek, at newcastle.gov. That's JEFFERY dot SENDEK at NEWCASTLEDE.gov. Or you can contact Lieutenant Teresa Williams, she's retired, at 302-395-8180. Her email is teresa.williams at newcastle.de.gov. But You can always call Crime Stoppers. And here's a new number for you. You can contact Newcastle County Division of Police, the non-emergency number, at 302-573-2800. So this guy's was a little bit shorter than usual. It's kind of like the Margaret Mag Stallings episode. I just found this so interesting that they identified someone. It did take years. Unfortunately, solving crimes and identifying victims does take time. But I thought it was super cool that they were able to identify her. They were able to provide the family with some closure, like Junior said. And I thought it was worth sharing with you all. So thank you all for listening. If you laughed at me, that's fine. I understand. And thank you so much to everyone who keeps coming back. We have some really cool stuff coming up. I always say that, but thank you for listening. And as always, if you thought nothing ever happened here, you for sure thought wrong.